Right, so I've been doing photography for a number of years now. I know it's been pretty good, it's been pretty fun, learned different things along the way. However, when I first started, lens choice wasn't that big of a thing. It was just more of just the ideas that came to me. But then as you go on, you do an experiment with different lenses, different equipment, things like that, just to see how much you can improve on what you already know. And sadly, when I was trying to change up my photography styles, I didn't really know what kind of lens I needed because I didn't know what different ones did and all that kind of stuff. Also, I was still a beginner at the time, so I didn't know what was a good beginner lens for me to, because obviously I didn't want to jump into something too advanced, so then I'd lose the motivation because I'd just get confused and stuff like that. I wanted something that would be easy to use, however, still advance my photography. And that's hopefully what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you a specific lens, and I feel like it's a really good starting lens, or maybe just after you've started. So you've got the basics down, and now you want to advance a little bit because you feel like you want to push yourself a little bit more and just get that a little bit more high quality with it. As you already know, just from looking at the title, we're going to be using the 50mm lens. I know it's a great lens, and this is what the video is going to be about. I'm going to tell you the pros and cons to using this lens. Now, just to start off, I will just tell you, this is basically the standard 50mm lens you can get from Canon. I think it was £100, which isn't too bad for a decent lens. Now, obviously you can get other 50mm lenses which are probably more expensive and they probably do a little bit more. However, I picked this one just because it's affordable if you're on a budget, and also, like I said, if you are a beginner, you don't want to go breaking the bank if it's one of your first lenses that you're going to buy and you don't know if it's worth it. So let's go on with the video. So what I'll do first is I'll list some of the specs of the lens just so you can know a little bit about it, and then I'll show you some examples afterwards. First, let's talk about the aperture. This lens in specific can go to 1.8, which is a very wide aperture, and it means it's really good in low light photography. Also, because of the wide aperture, it allows a lot of lighting. By allowing more light to come in through your lens, you can bump your ISO way lower, which means that you'll get less noise in your pictures, which ends up leaving you with a cleaner and a sharper image. Also, keeping on the subject of aperture, by having the 1.8, it really allows you to isolate your subjects more than general kit lenses do. And that's because of the depth of field that you get from using this lens. It allows you to blur out the background and really focus in on your subject. Another great point is its form factor. As you can see, it's very compact, it's tiny, and it's great to just chuck in your bag when you're on the move. It's really great for travel photography, street photography, any time where you're constantly moving around. This is great because, as you can see, it takes up virtually no space in your camera bag. Now, saying that, as you can see, this is a prime lens. It doesn't zoom in and out, so you physically got to move forward and backwards if you want to get close to your subject or farther away, which can be a con to some people depending on what you're photographing. If you are into nature photography, wildlife photography, animal photography, stuff like that, this might not be the best thing, as chances are you really want to get close to the animal and capture some detail. However, with this, you'll have to get really close to it and chances are you'll scare it away. So in that instance, I feel like it's probably not great for that kind of photography. However, I feel like it's got perks in other areas. Also, because it is a fixed lens, and let's say you're trying to photograph something and you're in a tight space, this lens might not allow you to capture everything you're trying to capture in that space. Whereas a kit lens, like the one I'm using now for this video, it allows me to go super wide or super zoomed in. So with this one, if you wanted to capture the same kind of image that maybe a zoomed out lens would do, you'd have to go more farther back. However, I did just say, if you are in a compact area, so you might not have the space to go back. So again, that's one thing that maybe isn't the best for this lens. So there were just a few points of the positives and negatives of the lens. Now generally, I do love the lens. It's one of the lenses that I try to use as much as I can just because I love the high quality you get from the pictures. Because that's the thing also, with a prime lens, although you can't zoom in and out, by having that fixed lens, it allows you to create more sharper, more detailed images than other zoom lenses. However, what I decided to do was just to prove to you and just show you examples of a kit lens against the prime lens. I went out and took some pictures. I took my camera, I took the 50mm lens and the lens I'm using now, which is the 18 to 55mm, and also the tripod, just so I can keep the camera in the same place, just so you can see the exact same perspectives, just using different lenses. Here are my results. Also, to keep this fair, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm only going to show you the raw images, so they're not going to be edited, just so you know exactly what you'll be getting straight out of the camera. And with the kit lens, I'm going to keep that at 50mm, just so they're both easy to compare with each other. And also, I'm going to keep the apertures for both as wide as possible, just so you can see the amount of light that can be taken in using the widest aperture for both of them. Okay, so this is the first example, and this one is just of a flower. It's a simple image, and it's not fancy, so it's really a good comparison. As you can see with the 50mm lens, a lot of light is coming in, and there's a good amount of isolation to the flower compared to its background. Now compare this with the kit lens, it's a lot darker at the same settings. Now I'm not saying you can bump up the ISO and make it brighter, you can do that. However, what I'm trying to show you is just the amount of light this lens brings in. And like I said before, the lower your ISO, there's less chance that your picture will be affected by noise, and it'll give you a cleaner, sharper image. Next, I didn't plan this to happen, but you know what, it's kind of cool that it did happen. So I would just go to take a picture of my lighter on a bridge and just show you a bit of depth of field that way. However, two flies came and joined in, sat right next to it, and here's the thing, you can see the level of isolation to the subject compared to his surroundings. Literally, just by having those flies there, you can see the shallow depth of field that it allows you to get, which is amazing. The isolation also did work out pretty well for the kit lens, however it was darker, meaning you would have to bump up your ISO or fix it in post. Also, I forgot to mention this, however I'll tell you now. By having more light come into your picture, you can turn up your shutter speed to a higher number, which allows you to capture more frames, which will basically allow you to capture moving objects in a more still image. Here's an example. This is a little waterfall and it's covered up by a lot of greenery, meaning it's quite dark in this area. However, by having this light come in and turning up the shutter speed, it allowed us to capture the water in a very sharp image. Again, doing this with the kit lens, it does work kind of, however, again, it's still very dark, meaning turn up your ISO, but it'll be more noisy. And this is the last image. So when I was talking about you want to capture a wider area in a compact space, this is what I meant. Here you can see I'm capturing a bridge and some greenery on the side. Now, if you do want to take a picture like this, you can do this with the kit lens. However, when I tried this with the 50mm, it didn't really allow me to do it because I had to go so far back. And even then, there is a stone in the way from where I need to be, so I can capture the exact same image. So again, this is one thing that isn't for the 50mm and it's for the kit lens, or just anything a bit wider really. And there we go, that is basically my idea of this lens. I think it's a great lens. It's something I think you should get if you are a beginner or intermediate and you want to try and experiment a bit more. You want to get out there and see how much you can test yourself with a fixed lens, because the thing is, it does bring up some problems. However, I feel like if you can find out a way to combat these problems, you're becoming a better photographer each and every time. So I definitely say pick up this lens if you can, and if it's in your budget, because honestly it really is worth getting. I've enjoyed using this for the past maybe a year or two, I think 2 years, and I have no complaints about it. And that is the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you did find it useful. If you did, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.